Look at this photo of J.D. Vance. A relatively recent convert to Catholicism, Vance found himself on stage at a political rally, publicly lecturing the Pope on the finer points of theology. The response from Rome was fairly direct. 2 consecutive popes have publicly rebuked the content of his stated faith, and the current pontiff, Pope Francis, has essentially ignored his political posturing entirely. This dynamic sets off a predictable cycle. Intellectuals write serious essays debating whether Vance is a bad Catholic, and media outlets wonder if the tech billionaires funding these movements, figures like Peter Thiel, are genuine believers or just performing a religious long con. But treating this as a theological puzzle diverts our focus. We end up debating what these men believe in their hearts, while ignoring the political apparatus they are constructing in plain sight. There is a deep-seated instinct in American culture to judge people by their inner life. If a politician's intentions seem genuine, we tend to give them moral credit, even if their policies miss the mark. This instinct makes sense in our private lives, with friends and family. But in public life, this desire to measure sincerity has become an intentional vulnerability. When a public official enacts policies that cause real-world harm, their defenders point back to the politician's professed religious values. This framing allows the damage to be dismissed as a mere oversight or a flawed execution of deeply held beliefs. We end up trying to audit the invisible contents of a politician's mind. And while we're distracted by that impossible task, their highly visible, concrete actions escape any real accountability. The philosopher David Hume pointed out a basic, undeniable fact about human observation. The inner life of another person is entirely opaque to us. A person's true motives are, as a matter of logic, inaccessible to anyone but themselves. If you're dealing with yourself or a close friend, you can reasonably guess what's driving an action. But when you look at a public figure on a podium, you are staring at a sealed black box. Determining their true heart is scientifically impossible. Knowing that we can't measure their souls, public actors use this black box to repel our focus. By forcing the debate into the unprovable realm of inner authenticity, they successfully deflect attention away from measurable reality. Because we don't have access to their inner state, we are left with only one valid metric to evaluate them. We have to look at what their conduct produces. When politicians demand you judge them by their stated religious beliefs rather than their legislative record, they are asking you to ignore the tangible outcomes of their actions. They are telling you not to believe your own eyes. Look at this photo of Vladimir Putin and Patriarch Kirill of the Russian Orthodox Church. There is a documented method for capturing national religions, and it starts right here. The mechanism is functional alignment. Putin didn't have to convert Kirill to a specific spiritual conviction. He only needed to align the church's institutional interests with the regime's political goals. The result of this alignment is a church that manages the religious sentiments of the population and issues formal blessings for the state's actions. This same process is now visible in the American political landscape. Look at the legal apparatus being assembled and the funding flows directed by figures like Thiel and Vance. Their deployment of Christianity operates exactly like the Russian model. The theology serves as a captured vocabulary, a rhetorical tool used to build and legitimize a strong state, conservative legal apparatus. When an institutional capture is complete, the inner life of the actors is beside the point. Whether they are wearing a religious costume or holding a sincere personal faith, the political outcomes remain identical. There is a striking irony here. We can look at the very religious texts these figures claim as their moral foundation and find that their own theology destroys the defense they use. In this visualization of the scales of justice, you can see a representation of the final judgment described in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. The criteria for that judgment are based entirely on observable conduct, not private feelings. The text asks specific, concrete questions. Did you feed the hungry? Did you welcome the stranger? In the parable, an atheist who does the work passes the test, while a professed believer who turns the hungry away fails it. Even the most serious historical traditions of their own professed religion locate moral worth strictly in outward conduct. They demand that we evaluate actions over professions of faith. We need to stop asking whether a politician is a real Catholic or a fake Christian. That is a question exclusively for their confessor. It has no place in the public square. Instead, look at this image of an ICE protest. This is the observable conduct that actually matters. This is the human consequence of political contempt for immigrants, the enabling of state cruelty, and the authoritarian consolidation of power. If a legislative agenda consistently produces real-world harm, those outcomes are functionally evil. The internal belief system of the person signing the bill changes absolutely nothing about the damage done to the country. For the citizen, the conduct is the substance. We must judge what we can clearly observe, because that conduct, not their inner life, is what the rest of us actually have to